and welcome to today's lesson on Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. Martin Luther King's speeches are well remembered for being very powerful and filled with a ton of rich images that really stuck in people's minds. Three of the ways he writes so memorably are imagery, hyperbole, and personification. We'll discuss these today using examples from Dr. King's speech, and each one is color-coded. This is because literary devices like these are rarely used in isolation. We almost always use them in combination of 2, 3, or more. The colors are used to help you tell them apart and see how they're being used more clearly. Imagery refers to any language that a writer uses to create an image or picture in a person's mind. Let's look at a couple of examples. We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Or, it came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. Don't these images create a picture in your mind? They're certainly more colorful than we will not be satisfied until justice and righteousness are common. A hyperbole is basically an exaggeration. Dr. King uses these quite often. Some examples are, I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. And I have a dream that every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low. Very few things in life can really be described as the greatest, and the word every doesn't actually apply to many things. However, using hyperbole makes things seem more concrete and more real, greater and better than they really are. Personification is to take an object or animal, or even an idea, and give it human characteristics. Human characteristics can mean anything from looking curiously at something to doing taxes. The example from Dr. King's speech is, America has given the Negro people a bad check. Here, America isn't a person, so it shouldn't be able to write a check. Dr. King gave the country a human characteristic in order to talk about the effects of society on the African American community. Let's take a look at some combinations of these literary devices. Once again, even though we have separate names for the literary devices in Dr. King's speech, that doesn't mean they happen separately. In fact, they often work together to make something they couldn't do on their own. In It Would Be Fatal for Our Nation to Overlook the Urgency of the Moment, Dr. King uses hyperbole and personification to address the nation as a whole, rather than just his audience, and make his statement more serious by saying that an action would be fatal, or rather, the lack of action would be fatal. We can also look at, I have a dream that every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low. Dr. King makes the imagery of valleys and hills and mountains larger and grander with his hyperbolic everys. Dealing with literary devices requires some imagination, but it also requires a good deal of practice. With that in mind, let's look at our activity. Based on your new knowledge of literary devices and how they work together, choose 3 sentences from Dr. King's speech that contain at least one example of a literary device from today. So you should have one example of each literary device. Don't just use the examples from the PowerPoint. Make some notes on how Dr. King uses these devices to create a specific effect, and what you think that effect is. You will need at least 2 full sentences of notes for each sentence from Dr. King's speech. This means you should have 6 sentences in all. Be ready to discuss these notes in small groups during the next class and share your ideas. Be ready to discuss and share your ideas, expand your notes, and listen to others in small groups during the next class. Your notes will be due at the end of the next class. That's the end of our lesson on a few of the literary devices in Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. Be safe, kind, and enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.